This is Neural Newscast.
Here is what matters today, June 24th, 2026.
I'm Peter Rowan.
And I'm Hannah Whitmore.
The United States Treasury has issued a sweeping rollback of sanctions on Iranian oil, authorizing dollar-denominated trade for the first time in more than 4 decades. This 60-day exemption, designated as General License X, allows Iran to produce and sell crude and petroleum products through August 21st.
This policy shift marks a dramatic reversal of the economic pressure campaign that has existed since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It could unlock a floating inventory of 67 million barrels of oil, handing Tehran a financial windfall estimated between $8 and $9 billion.
President Trump has defended the license, asserting that the resulting profits are intended for Iran to purchase American agricultural goods rather than military hardware. The move follows a memorandum of understanding signed last week as talks in Switzerland show progress toward a permanent peace deal.
Analysts expect Chinese state and independent refineries to aggressively ramp up their purchases during this window to replenish their stockpiles. This authorization removes the principal banking frictions that previously forced transactions through opaque shadow banking channels, allowing direct payments into Iran's central bank.
In other news, a leaked letter reveals that dozens of former Israeli security chiefs and political leaders are threatening legal action against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The signatories demand an immediate end to violence against Palestinians in the West Bank, which they characterize as an ideology of ethnic cleansing.
The group includes 2 former prime ministers, Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak, as well as former heads of the Mossad and Shin Bet. They argue that civilian and military perpetrators have acted with almost complete impunity, citing years of attacks involving arson, theft, and desecration of the dead.
The letter warns that this campaign of violence isolates Israel internationally and risks fueling a new Palestinian uprising. If the government fails to take action, the group says it will petition Israel's high court to force the state to eradicate what they call Jewish terrorism.
Turning now to the conflict in Eastern Europe. A Ukrainian air attack on the Russian-occupied city of Sevastopol has crippled the city's main power substation. Moscow-installed Governor Mikhail Razvashayev says the drone struck overnight, and power is not expected to be fully restored until Wednesday evening.
The outage coincides with a suspension of all petrol sales to the public, as local authorities attempt to manage fuel shortages following a Ukrainian blockade. Residents have begun panic buying in shops, reporting that items like sugar are in short supply, while temperatures in the region reach 30 degrees Celsius.
Meanwhile, former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen is calling for a new European coalition of the willing to defend the continent. Rasmussen proposes that this force should include a battle-hardened Ukraine, acting as an insurance policy in case the United States pulls its troops out of Europe.
He argues, Hannah, that the American attitude toward European defense has changed permanently, and Europe must establish its own security guarantees. This 45-state coalition would serve as a training and reassurance force, positioning Ukraine as one of the militarily strongest nations in a new European security architecture.
Next, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that a former Louisiana inmate cannot sue prison officials for damages after they forcibly shaved his dreadlocks. Damon Landor, a Rastafarian, argued the act violated his religious rights, but the court ruled 6-3 that federal law does not apply to individual officials.
Writing for the conservative majority, Justice Neil Gorsuch stated that the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act depends on state consent and lacks the authority to impose personal liability. This contrasts with a 2020 ruling that allowed similar damages against federal officials under a different statute.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote in her dissent that the ruling leaves prisoners without a remedy for even the most blatant violations of religious freedom. Landor had previously provided guards with a court ruling protecting his hair, but court records show those papers were thrown in the trash.
Landor served time on a drug-related charge and was forcibly shaved during the final month of his sentence. He described his dreadlocks as a symbol of spiritual growth and told USA Today that when the guards cut his hair, they essentially cut off his crown.
While the court has recently sided with religious liberty claims in other contexts, this decision marks a significant limitation for those within the state prison system. The ruling clarifies that states agree to follow federal rules when accepting funding, but individual employees do not automatically inherit that liability.
Here is what else we are watching. Energy markets will be focused on Chinese oil procurement as buyers assess pricing and cargo availability for Iranian crude under the new 60-day waiver. We expect a rapid storage top-off cycle from independent refineries looking to lock in longer-term contracts.
In Israel, unofficial campaigning is beginning for elections that must take place by the end of October. This political maneuvering is happening under the shadow of the leaked letter from security elites, which has sharpened the national debate over the government's policy in the West Bank.
Finally, we are tracking the ongoing power crisis in Crimea. While officials expect electricity to return this evening, the impact of the Ukrainian drone strikes on logistics and fuel supplies will continue to test the stability of the Russian administration in the occupied territory.
That is the news for this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.